just going there to eat.
Not making money today.
Why did I do this?
You're just going to ask me that with zero contact.
That's what I like to do.
These all sound dangerous.
What did I just read?
We're not staying in death mode.
But
Could have died.
I hear you.
We're way off here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I could get into this.
Woo! You're listening to The Hot Sauce Show, the place to meet hot sauce makers and enthusiasts. Let's jump right in. Hey everyone, welcome to The Hot Sauce Show. My name is Zach, I'm your host, and today we have Evan Werthman from Snaxsonville. Evan, we're excited to have you here.
I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming out today. So let's start off, let's get right into it. What is Snaxsonville?
So Snaxsonville is a food blog. It's pretty specific to Jacksonville, Florida, but I mean, we love all food. What we do is we go to various restaurants, and as of late, we've been going in and just having a normal dining experience, documenting it. We don't put ourselves in the videos, so it's not like one of those, you know, you're filming yourself eating deals. But we go in, we have a meal, and then we just rate the experience so people here in Jacksonville know various places to eat and kind of what to expect.
Very cool. And how did you get into that? Was it?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
I would say accidentally, just because it started out as a hobby. We started Snaxsonville because I used to own a food truck back in like 2016 through 2020. I owned a food truck, and kind of just through some life decisions, we decided to part ways with that. And when the pandemic hit, just sort of for fun, but also to support our friends in the restaurant industry going through a little bit of pretty big crisis at the time, we decided to try to, just turn various people in Jacksonville onto some of the restaurants that we really like visiting. And so we started out as one of the very few people on Instagram trying to do videos and, video content, because at the time Instagram was primarily images. And what happened was my wife got me to try TikTok and post some videos on there. And that was still when things were like blowing up and going viral. And we had a video about Texas Roadhouse go extremely viral. And, we started to realize the potential of social media and leaned in a little bit more.
Yeah. So I just actually rewatched that video yesterday. For our viewers that haven't seen the video, can you tell them about it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I like to think of myself as an ideas guy, and sometimes I get this interesting idea for a video. I like to try to be a little bit different than what people typically do. Maybe I'll take an idea, I'll sort of spin it off. And so the idea at the time was we'd go in and we'd tell the server, hey, here's $50, order us whatever you think that we would like. And people seem to, I think the reason the video went viral was because number one, he spent more than $50, and we didn't say it.
Oh, did he?
We didn't say it.
How much over did he go?
He went like $10 over.
Okay.
Which I don't think is like crazy.
It looked phenomenal.
I also didn't anticipate the video blowing up, but I think some of the people commenting, that's not $50, just over and over in the comments. And I think some people just genuinely like Texas Roadhouse, thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, the video had like 5 million views or something. I haven't even looked in a while, but it was a fun concept, and it was fun to do because it was on our end. It was always like a surprise.
Yeah. What did the server, were they like taken back by such a kind of strange request?
Most of the servers think it's really like fun, because they kind of get to, when you're a server at a restaurant, most of the time people are ordering the popular menu items, which is why they're popular. And so it's kind of nice. I guess it depends on who you are. If you're one of the servers who just wants to get through the shift, make some money, and get on with your life, it's probably not as exciting. It might even be more of a hassle. But a lot of the servers that we seem to encounter kind of liked the chance to be able to show someone else what they liked on the menu. And so we got some things that I never would have thought to order, and we've learned that are really good at Texas Roadhouse.
Can you share a few of those things?
Off the cuff, he ordered us, I think it was like an appetizer sampler, which I thought was like okay in retrospect. The rolls are kind of the main reason people go. But
really, the rolls. I've heard that at Red Lobster.
have you not had the Texas Roadhouse rolls?
Maybe not.
That's so wild.
Are they like buttery and just delicious?
They come with like I'm gonna get it wrong, but I think it's like a honey butter or something like that. And that
on them or on the side?
On the side, and they're just like these soft rolls, and people like just rave about these things. And so I feel like that's maybe the main reason people go, because like the food's like pretty good.
Yeah.
I think he got us some sort of chicken dish, which was good. Like I'm not wild about Texas Roadhouse, but I think looking back, what he got us was pretty solid. I know one of the weird things he got us was like their applesauce with like strawberry syrup, and part of me was like, why did like
as a side or something?
Off the cuff. Yeah, and he's like, oh, it's really good, and I was like,
he's like, this really bangs.
This is strange,
like, right.
but okay, I guess.
That's awesome. And now, what was, backing up real quick? So you said you had a food truck. What was your food truck? What was kind of that type of food?
So I was, again, ideas guy. So I wanted it to be a video game themed food truck, and we mounted a TV on the side. Had like a panel that lifted up, and people could play video games while they're waiting for their food. And
I love that.
That was a cool concept.
Yeah.
And so I like themed the menu, and so it was kind of like bar food. We did like Dorito breaded chicken tenders and burgers, and it turned out, looking back, I would have maybe planned the menu a little better, because we had, everybody has this grandiose idea of what they're going to serve on a food truck, and then it comes down to what's realistic, and it changes a little bit. But we were primarily, I would say, a burger food truck, and that was a pretty chaotic experience. Yeah, I mean, when you're experimenting with a business and like the barrier to entry is a little bit higher, sometimes it gets dicey,
Because I remember you had told me before about like the truck breaking down and just all different things, and it's like, well, my truck's broken for 3 days. I guess we're not serving any food.
Yeah. We like, there was a time where, we had a tire pop going on 95. We were going like 65, and I was, could have died. And we had another time where like after that, when they put new tires on it, one of those tires rolled off while we were driving on Butler. So that was crazy. And I just talked recently to the guys who bought it from us and did their own thing with it. And like they're in a trailer now, and I was like, what happened to the truck? And they're like, it died while we were driving it. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
That's on brand, right? Yeah. That's wild. So you had the food truck, and then you kind of moved out of that and then got into this platform of reviewing local food businesses, kind of spotlighting them. How do you choose, or, I know you guys have such a following now. I'm assuming restaurants come to you, but kind of getting started and still probably to this day, how do you choose where you're going to go?
So in the beginning, kind of like you mentioned, it was way more like our idea was spotlighting. At the time, I was really like, okay, I don't want to tear anybody down. I want to bring people in the doors. I want to help local businesses. And we did that for the longest time. And we just honestly went to wherever we wanted to go. And a lot of times when you get a video with a bunch of viewers, people will tell you where they want you to go. And so that provided some new ideas. But, we hear about a lot of spots, and then you start to get a little bigger, and restaurants start to reach out to you, be like, we're opening up. And kind of what happened was the reason we got into reviewing is, number one, we'd have all these restaurants reach out, and they were a little bit more on the corporate-y side, and we'd go in and spotlight them, and it was just like a wham bam thank you sort of situation, where it almost feels to some degree, as in the food influencer world, like you get used really quick. Like there's just not really a whole lot of appreciation for what we do besides a quick shout out. That's my opinion.
Now, the big corporate places, did they like know you were going to be there, or?
Yeah. And they'd invite you out. It's not like I show up and I'm like, hello, I'm an influencer.
Right.
It's like, they'll like schedule an event and have a bunch of influencers out, but then like after the event, they like, it just goes 0 dark 30. Like you don't hear back from a lot of these restaurants. My goal in like not charge, like a lot of influencers will charge restaurants to come out. We had always been on the the mindset that at least for local restaurants, we are never going to charge because we want to form relationships with restaurants in the community and kind of like partner with these guys and help their businesses grow. And just truthfully, it sometimes it felt like there just wasn't a lot of reciprocation there. They wanted a quick shout out, and then we were old news. That being said, when we switched to reviews, it felt way more intuitive for kind of how that whole system works. Like, instead of someone asking you for a quick shout out, they're going to be asking you for a review where you're giving them honest feedback. And at that point, I actually felt like there was way more appreciation for us coming out and giving them honest feedback, because a lot of times in the restaurant world, you just get it was good. You don't get honest feedback. And so the way we've decided to do those is, honestly, a lot of restaurants do reach out. We thought they would maybe stop when we started doing reviews, but a lot of restaurants reach out and ask us to come review their food, which is super fun. And we try to be as constructive as possible when we do that. We're not just like pulling a 180 and saying like, we're tired of not getting your attention, we're going to rip you apart. It's more so like we wanted to present viewers with a more honest take, so that they don't feel like we're just like selling them something.
Sure.
And in a way, it keeps some of these restaurants honest, where they can't just ask for a quick shout out.
Right.
Like if they want a quick shout out, they can maybe go somewhere else. But we want to give people an honest take on what the experience looks like. It's something that I've really enjoyed. And then occasionally, like if there's a restaurant that, we just eat out a lot. So half the time it's just featuring wherever we go. But if there's a restaurant that's like on our radar that we really want to review, we'll go there. But a lot of the times it's viewer requests and restaurants reaching out.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
That was a long-winded answer. So
yeah, no, that's what we're here. We're here for the not 2 second sound bite. All right. So you ready to try some hot sauce?
I cannot wait. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so we have some fantastic sauces picked out today. The first one we're going to try is Cosmic Dumpling from
I like that name.
Yeah, it's a great name. You're familiar with dumpling sauce, I'm sure.
I don't know if I am.
Like like dumplings at a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah,
like the black,
so
kind of like it's like, I don't even know how to. There's probably a proper name here that I'm not using. It's like the sauce you get on the side with like the 6 steamed dumplings.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the name of that.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to taste it. Maybe it'll taste familiar.
This is just like that sauce, except a little bit thicker and just a little bit of heat to it.
I'm intrigued.
Incredible on ramen, rice,
my wife's
chicken.
Gonna be really into this.
Got a little bit of heat. All right, grab a spoon.
All right, hit me.
And this is
I can
Cosmic
see
Dumpling
the
by
darker
Karma sauce. All right, give you a little bit here. All righty, and I'm going to get a little bit on mine. And like that. Perfect. Cheers.
Cheers indeed.
Fantastic. Got the ginger, umami, garlic. What do you think of that?
I like that a lot. I'm trying to think of exactly what I'd put it in, but I see what you mean when you say like ramen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would go good with ramen. Just honestly, even like, do you ever do the thing where you make like instant ramen and then you like spruce it up a little bit?
Yep.
That's literally like, I feel like that is just a one and done. You could just put that stuff on like instant ramen and it would just level it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a fantastic sauce. That's definitely one
It's
of
got
our...
a lot of flavor too. It's not just like, it's got some depth, which I very much appreciate. That's kind of what I go for. Yeah,
and that's kind of a misconception with, that's not a misconception, but a common misconception with hot sauce is everyone just thinks like a lot of the vinegar-based stuff that's been around forever, which is fine. Like I personally love those sauces. And then people think, okay, really hot sauces that have no flavor. There's like this whole middle area that is thousands and thousands of sauces where all these, I call them boutique sauce makers, have made all these flavors that have a ton of flavor and have a little bit of heat. So it's like, okay, it's still a hot sauce, but you taste all the flavor.
Those are the ones I buy. Like I'll buy like, I'm a big fan of like the fruitier, like the peach hot sauce. This I could definitely get behind. Where can I find that, by the way?
So we have it on our website, our main sponsor, Delightfully Hot. We sell all different types of hot sauces, spicy food that our team has curated. We've tried hundreds and hundreds of hot sauce, and our team has done all that. And then we put our
so I can order it online, basically.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Christmas present, maybe.
Yeah. So that's actually one of the things that the Delightfully Hot website specializes in is putting together gift sets. So we have all these curated gift sets.
Can you and I swear I'm not trying to do some sort of like ad read with this. I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah.
Can you like mix and match hot sauces?
Yeah. So we we really focus around picking out 3 different hot sauces to making a gift set.
That's pretty cool.
So we have all these curated gift sets on there. So if your wife doesn't like spicy food, but you like spicy food, she goes on our website. She's like, I don't know cayenne pepper from a Carolina Reaper, but I know Evan loves chicken or loves grilling or loves ramen.
A set that pairs with that.
Exactly. So it's
kind of cool.
It's really intuitive. But then also, if you didn't want to, pick one of the pre-selected gift sets, you could still pick out, I've had this one. I love this one, and then let me get let me look at the Cajun hot sauces. Let's put a Cajun hot sauce. So yeah, it's a really, really cool website to check out. So
all right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dumpling, huh?
So next question here. So we talked about your mystery food shopping, your reviews, and I guess we'll say keeping restaurants a little bit more honest with what they're doing.
Right.
To let the general public know. And it's not just here's a 1-star on Google or whatever because I didn't like the way, my server looked at me, whatever.
Right.
Yours are much more in-depth and thorough. So you have this grid system, but before we get to that, is there any other social media things that you found in kind of shaping your review? Like the mystery box was not the mystery box, the mystery order. Is there any other funky things that you do that you think are interesting and kind of a new approach to it?
Yeah. So I just sort of see if something's becoming the status quo, I immediately am like, and I want to do something else. I think I've just been that way my whole life, where I'm always one of those guys who I don't want to do something just because everyone else does it. Mm-hmm. And so I constantly am trying to take parts of what we do. And if I see other people start to do them, I'm like, I need to do something different to differentiate myself. And one thing, I'm a CPA. And so I came up with this crazy rubric that I think some people like. Some people are like, this is weird. But it's called a CPA review. And so you can take this. I actually like doing this with like corporate chain restaurants because I think it's, again, it keeps them pretty honest. But not that they're necessarily watching my videos. But you'll go in and you'll try the food and you will assign a dollar amount to what you would pay for that menu item. Then you compare it to what they're charging. And the thing is, there have been people who've commented on it and been like, well, that's an unrealistic dollar amount. And part of me is like, it's not supposed to be. I'm not pricing their food. I'm saying based on how it tastes and the value I see in it, here's the most amount of money that I would pay for that. So like we went to Taco Bell, and I don't know if you've noticed, but Taco Bell has gotten more pricey. And so what we did was we assigned our dollar amounts to certain menu. In some menu items, it would be like totally like, yes, I would 100% pay for that. And other menu items, we were like, this menu item fell short a little bit. And honestly, I didn't even look at the prices before we did it. So I just assigned a price. And then you'd kind of be shocked when you like do that, when you just order blind and say, this is what I'd pay for an item. And then you look at the actual price, you kind of be surprised where things land sometimes.
Really? So like a taco or something like that, you might think that's what, $1.99 or $2.99, and then it's like $5.
So you know how they have all these like new crazy menu items? It's like some fancy burrito or whatever. You'll have it and you'll be like, man, I guess like $3. And then you'll look and like the burrito's like $5 and you're like, okay, we're way off here. But there's some things like you'll have and you're like, this is amazing. And even if it's like unrealistic, you'd be like, I would pay $10 for this. Like that's part of the game, You'd be like, if it's something's really good, you can assign a value to it. And that's the whole concept. I think it's a little abstract for people, so I don't know how well it caught on, but people in the financial sector thought it was super interesting. But I wanted to do it just because it's like, this is something unique about me that I can put a spin on. And I think for the most part, our audience appreciates us trying to be unique and original versus just kind of going through the motions. So
That's great. So your CPA review is more of kind of like the dollar amount to a particular food product. And then that's different than your kind of grid review system.
completely.
Right? Completely different.
Price factors in a lot, or well, not a lot, but price factors in a little bit to the grid system. But to me, just I guess maybe it's the way my brain works, but money is a big part of the world. And
Absolutely.
so it's a huge part of eating out, especially lately. And so to me, I thought it was a very interesting take on eating out and fast food, just because a lot of what people describe their experience relates directly to the price. Like they'll say something's not worth the money you paid for it,
Right.
and that's a big reason they won't go somewhere. So I thought it was a interesting spin on a review.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So talk to me. You have this really cool grid system on how you review, and we'll try to get it up on the screen here. But talk me through that, and what I'm most curious about. So if you can kind of talk about it, so we have a lot of listeners that aren't necessarily watching.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can kind of describe it, and then what I really want to know, I know you have fast food, fast casual, sit down. I want to know how a Taco Bell is a A, and then a fine dining restaurant could be an A. How do you compare those apples to oranges?
It's a really good question.
I mean, that's what I'm most interested in, because it's like, okay, an A at a Taco Bell might be a C at fine dining, but they're not really the same thing. So you can't even really compare them. So can you walk us through that? So walk us through
I'll get to that, because what you just said is actually like one of the biggest hurdles that I found right away. But the grid system for me, I saw food reviews getting popular. And to some degree, we just wanted to be able to critique food, but in a way where people would want to watch. And like the scoring system is a way you can provide feedback where people are interested to see the score at the end, because it turns it into kind of a game. And I talked to some friends, we lovingly call them Snaxsonville interns, even though they're not interns, but they provided some of the feedback I needed for this, but they suggested breaking it out into categories, or I don't remember whose idea it was, but breaking it out into categories was kind of where the scale is. So what it is, it's a 30-point scale. So like imagine in school you get a class project. You're supposed to make a diorama of the Amazon rainforest, right? And your teacher hands you like, oh, this is the rubric I'm grading it on. And a lot of times in those rubrics, like it'll be like the actual, like maybe the information of the project is scored. It has a greater point value than, how colorful the diorama is. So we kind of took that same principle where it's like not everything at a restaurant is as crucial to your experience as everything else. And so with the 30-point scale, we have taste having like a 10-point value.
Seems
so you can
important.
score. Yeah. I would almost say I could look back at this and tweak it more, but I like round numbers. So we went with 10.
10. Okay. So a third of your overall score is just what it tastes like.
Yeah. And I would actually, again, depending on the person, this scale might not be that useful depending on what you look for. If the only thing you care about is taste, maybe my scale is not going to be as useful. You could look at parts of it.
But you still break it out, so you can still see the taste.
You could
see the taste score, because the ambiance could be 0 and the taste could be 10. You're like, well, I'm just going there to eat.
Some people really care about ambiance. So some people only care about taste. So we do 10 points for taste, 5 points for presentation, which I almost think this is more of a throwaway, but like at the same time, if something comes out looking like trash, it is kind of a thing that it'll affect your experience for sure. 5 points for service, 5 points for price, 3 points for creativity, and 2 points for what I call vibe, which I think you could, it's a catch-all, but I think ambiance is sort of included in that. And the way I score it isn't like a lot of people in their food reviews will, when they eat something, they'll think 10's unattainable and 0's if it's like I hated it more than anything. And so there's just two polar sides of the scale. I almost grade it like a school project where it starts at a 10. Like if I have an experience where everything goes fantastic and I can't think of a single thing to change, it's a 10. Or like it's if I get service and I have no complaints about the service, it's a 5. Some people have taken issue with that where they're like, well, was the service really a 5? Were they bending over backwards for you? And my perspective is from the service industry, that's not their job. Their job isn't to like have sparklers sticking out of your burger where you're just blown away. That's not a 5 for me for presentation. A service isn't where they're like, you know, tending on me, waiting hand and foot.
Because sometimes if a server comes too much, it's annoying.
Right.
Like if they're there, like,
and I mean,
like,
that's
I'm good.
Frankly,
I'm good.
that's not to me. Like we've eaten out enough where it's like a perfect experience is where the food is fantastic, the service is seamless. You know, they do their job
water
well.
Cup's always filled up.
The price feels fair. Cool menu, cool restaurant. That to me is we call it a golden plate, a 30 out of 30.
Golden plate. How many of those have you done?
Honestly, I think like 8 to 10, and
okay.
Which isn't like it's. So the funny part is we've done like I think I counted we've done 74 reviews. So 8 or 10 of them have been golden plates, but it's not like a perfect average in the sense that when we started doing reviews, we're like, we're going to go to all our favorite places first. So it's a little bit front loaded with some of these golden plates. I know there's a few more out there that I'm pretty sure are going to be, but,
and as your total number expands too, it probably makes you a little bit, I don't know if pickier is the right word, but maybe a little bit more critical.
So I would say on average, A- is probably a good average, which I know is like when some people are looking at it, they're like, well, the C should be the average. Just the way we look at it, we're not crazy picky about like we're not going to ding a server if they don't come quite as often as like if the service is pretty good, it's a 5 for us.
Yeah.
And that might not work for you. Like if you're watching and you're like trying to think, and some people also, it's because they eat out a little bit less. And so when they eat out, it's a little more important that things be a certain way. Mm-hmm. For us, we eat out so much that we're pretty forgiving on a lot of those things. So the scale is 100% like take it for what it works for you. Like if our A- is your like C, totally fine with me.
Sure.
Just don't come for me and tell me to change my scale for you. Like I'm gonna score it the way I think it is. And I think a lot of people, we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback about the way we score. And I think there are a lot of good restaurants in Jacksonville. So, you know, restaurant doesn't go into business to be a C. They're trying to like be excellent. So, you know, we get a lot of A's, A-,
so
B+.
So you're the numbers guy. So I'm having trouble doing quick math this morning. So how many points can you lose and still get an A? Like 20, like you lose 5-ish?
If you lose 1 point, you're still an A+, which I think is pretty fair. Yeah. Like, you know, just one small thing. Yeah. A lot of times for these restaurants, it's maybe they have a perfect meal and it's priced in a way that I look at it and I'm like, it's a little pricey, but.
And what's the price? That's 5?
Yeah, it's 5 points. So they'll maybe lose 1 if it's a little bit. And I use the price as sort of a keep people in check kind of thing. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a keep people in check, but it's like that's the thing that gets docked fairly frequently. And part of it's just like there are some restaurants where you're like, man, that was a really great value. And there's some restaurants where it's like that food was really good, but I also kind of felt it a little bit in my wallet.
Yeah.
So that one I tend to, you know, that one and the taste are the ones that get nicked the most. And taste, we try to be, you know, that's very personal. Like if you go in and something, if you're a little bit more like picky about something that's like tastes amazing to you, me and my wife tend to agree on it. So we tend to line up in pretty much the same way. But to lose 2 points, you're still at an A, and 3 points, you're at an A-, and it kind of goes from there.
It goes from there. Oh, and I love, by the way, that your CPA background and like numbers and applying numbers to things applies to food. Because you read so many reviews. I'm like you. I'm a numbers guy, and you know I read a review that's like 2 or 3 sentences, and then I'm like, what did I just read? And it's like, wait, so the server was good, or it wasn't good. But I love that like this grid system is just very clear for someone like me. It's like, okay, this is objectively, it's kind of like taking an art of doing the review and then putting really objective metrics on it.
Right. And that was the goal.
That you can see it. So I love that. So what kind of headspace are you in, or what do you do to, okay, you're at a fine dining. I mean, I'm just using the extreme examples.
Yes.
Fine dining versus fast food. I think that's, unless there's a larger gap I'm missing.
So this is the big question.
Yeah.
And we got this a lot right away. And what I started doing is right below, the scale. I just pretty much screenshot an Excel spreadsheet. But right below the scores, I list what meal I went for, whether it was lunch or dinner, because sometimes it does matter. And more importantly, I list what I would categorize the restaurant as. So for a fast food restaurant, if something's an A for a fast food, that is specifically comparing it to fast food. I'm not comparing like a Wendy's to like, I guess in the world of chains, I'm not comparing Wendy's to like Ruth's Chris. It doesn't make any sense for people. And a lot of times when people ask to go out, like recommend a restaurant to me, sometimes I get annoyed with that question because it's like, you're just going to ask me that with zero context. Like, do you want me to recommend like a restaurant that's going to cost you more than $100 a person? Or do you want me to recommend like something where you're spending like $10 for lunch? And I think food review should be treated the same way. I don't think you can rate different categories of restaurant the same. I don't even think you can, like we have sit-down restaurants versus like fast casual. I don't think you can compare those two because it's a completely different experience. And so it gets... The thing I don't like as an accountant when it comes to numbers is having everything so variable, where, there's so many different, but at the same time, when I'm in the mood for a certain kind of food, a lot of times, those variables matter. So when you're thinking about where you want to go eat, a lot of times you are already thinking like, do I want to go fine dining versus sit down versus fast casual versus fast food? And there's different moods for different people. And, if you want fast casual, sometimes you want to just be able to compare the fast casual restaurants. So I don't even attempt to compare the two. And people have gotten on me for that and been like, oh, this is a perfect score, but it's like a fast casual restaurant. Like, for example, one of the spots here, it's called Dreamette. It's a local ice cream spot, and I gave that a perfect score because I think it's incredible ice cream. And people are like, oh, that's a 30, and, you went to this fancy French restaurant and it got a B. Like, what's up? And it's like, they're not even close to the same thing. Because people want black and white, which is, to me, I don't think anything about food or people is black and white. Because I think, someone could go into a restaurant that we really like and just have a terrible experience or just not like it for really rational reasons. And so I'm not attempting to be the golden standard. We are just trying to give people honest feedback.
Yeah, I love it. All right, are you ready for the next sauce?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, so we're gonna step it up just a little bit.
Okay.
This one comes from STANKY Sauce. These guys are actually
STANKY Sauce
here in Orlando, which is fantastic.
Okay.
This is their honey mango habanero.
Oh, I could get into this.
Yeah, it's
anything with honey.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty. All right, so grab a spoon here.
What color spoon? I think I'm gonna do orange for the honey.
Perfect.
I can see the honey in that. It's nice and thick.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers indeed. Ooh, the burnt. Ooh. That one's got some sting, but it tastes really good.
Well, I said we're gonna step up here a little bit. Yeah, you get that honey.
It's not that bad, but it's got a little sting, but it tastes really good.
Yeah, you get the honey.
That one. Okay, what would you recommend pairing with that one? Because I can see that on chicken wings.
Yeah, that one's chicken wings. If you do, I really like, traditional buffalo sauce is really like hot sauce and then butter is kind of what buffalo sauce is.
Yeah, I love that.
What I love about especially so many of these flavor forward hot sauces is that you can do wings in an air fryer, fry them, whatever you want, pull them out, like you're going to do a dry rub, and then just put some sauce on them.
Right.
And they're fantastic. And the cool thing about that too is like, oh, I can do 2 wings with this sauce, and then I can do 2 wings with this sauce.
True.
And, work it that way.
I could see you putting like, you know how like with just sometimes with the straight like hot sauce to make the buffalo sauce, like you said, it's butter. I feel like you could just straight up put that on.
Yeah.
There. And then on top of that, I like that there was a burn and it's lingering, but it's faint.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I'm a fan.
Yeah, thank you. And, that's what I tell people too is like, yes, we're here on the show. We're doing something. We're trying hot sauce on a spoon, but that's not really how you eat hot sauce.
No.
Once you put that onto a taco or chicken or rice, the heat becomes subdued and then you're getting all the flavor.
That is true.
Which is really, 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 really nice about that. So kind of jumping back into the first part of the conversation here. This is kind of a multi-part question, but
okay.
Let me ask this first one. So do you think food trucks are still playing a role in terms of kind of testing an idea before we do a brick and mortar? And I don't even know if so many food truck people think that. It's just the food truck, I guess, has a maybe slightly lower barrier to entry than opening up a brick and mortar. So you can test concepts and you could theoretically change your menu every day, even though it's kind of insanity. But you can kind of test the market before you open a brick. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think this question depends entirely on like the geography. I think in where we live specifically, food trucks are a completely different animal than like DC.
How so?
Than like California. Like there's so many different things. I've only honestly like I've had food trucks in a few different places, and every single place it's different, and it depends on where they're serving and kind of how people interact with like public areas. In Jacksonville, Florida specifically, we are so spread out that food trucks have to do this thing where they'll like pop by an office for lunch, or like they'll go to they have to go to the people, versus like a DC where they all go to a place where people are. And so the nature of that economy here in Jacksonville makes it much, much more difficult and much more work to gain a following. But because you're constantly traveling to different people, you can kind of spread out your influence, I guess, if you want to say it that way, to different regions of Jacksonville and gain a following that way. But I think the perk of having a whole bunch of people come to you is you already have like a geographic location sort of on lock. And so if you were to open up a store near there, you'd already have an audience. In Jacksonville, if you gain a following and it's spread out, and you make a restaurant in one part of Jacksonville, you just got to hope that people come to you.
Oh, that's a great point. Because Jacksonville is the largest metropolitan area in the country.
It is.
Not the highest population, of course, because I know everyone's like, no, it's not the biggest city. Well, it is physically the biggest city by area.
Right.
Which is crazy. And then we got St. Augustine here, which is kind of a suburb, but it's its own city.
Right.
So if you pop off at the beach, you're doing great, but then you can't find space at the beach. Oh, well, we'll open up a place in St. John's or St. Augustine, I guess. And then you're, I won't say alienating, but you're kind of missing 100%. Your people.
So if you had served a whole bunch on the west side of Jacksonville, and you have a whole bunch of a following over there, and you're like, hey guys, I'm opening a shop at the beach, like you said, like over on the east side of Jacksonville, it is legit like a 30 to 45 minute drive to get from the west side to the beach.
Oh,
so, and just the way people work, I've noticed a lot of people in Jacksonville will kind of stick to their area.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's very difficult unless you have kind of a chokehold on a certain region to gain, I would say, a massive following here. Although some people have done very well, it is much more difficult than, places like California. I know there's just a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people visiting these trucks, and it's a little bit more densely populated. And so I'm guessing it'd be a little easier to amass a following if you sit in one spot versus here. If you sit in one spot, you're probably in trouble.
Right.
And so it translates a little better to brick and mortar. That being said, it is possible. And I think a lot of people who go into food trucks go in because they think they're going to make a lot of money with a food truck. Not true. Not for restaurants, the margins are already pretty slim. Like it's already tough to make money from a restaurant. With a food truck, it's slim margins, and then you just have a much slimmer window for serving people. Mm-hmm. You're serving people one at a time for like a 3-hour chunk, and you could maybe do 2-3 hour chunks. So
it's raining. Guess what? No one's coming up today.
Yeah, not making money today. And there's just a lot of those kinds of factors. And so food trucks, I would say if you want, I think to build out a business model and to kind of test it is maybe the only way. I think
so
it's
you're
risky.
Saying go into the food truck knowing like I'm testing something.
It's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of be okay with the risk of that. And you kind of have to go in with that mentality. I think to get the most out of it, if you enjoy cooking and you want to start a food truck, by all means, I just wouldn't go in with the idea that you're going to be, living in luxury financially.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Where do you see kind of the restaurant? And this is a very generic, kind of vague question, but I like that it is open-ended. Where do you kind of see the restaurant industry going right now with shift to more fast casual, shift to more the sit-down stuff? What are your thoughts on that?
I would venture to guess that a lot of it is going to shift towards fast casual. Both by the way, the economy is going, people are those middle of the road, like sit down, spend, you're for two people. If it's like anywhere between $60 and $100, people are steering a little bit further away from those concepts, versus like fast food, cheaper stuff. And then, they'll splurge and spend on like a more fancy experience. But I think like the sit downs that are like, I think sit down restaurants might be suffering both just from like inflation's going to hit them with just employees having, just finding employees. And I think food costs. So I don't know. People are really jumping on the delivery train. I hate food delivery.
Food delivery, carry out drives me nuts.
Have you had the thing here where like you order delivery and then all of a sudden like your driver will be cancel the?
Be like, nah. No, I've actually never used, other than like getting Chinese delivery or pizza delivery that we've had forever. I have never used any of like the newer Uber like food delivery things,
right?
Because I can't stand. I'm like, I don't like carry out in general because I know that when the chef or the owner or whoever put together a meal, like they intended it to cook it and put it on a plate for you. It's like
this is France, a whole thing. Yeah.
This could be a whole nother episode. In France, like they won't even do like, no, you're not getting a go box. Like you ate it here. This is how we wanted you to have it. I'm the same way. Like I don't want to go to a restaurant, pay the same price. Okay, I'm not leaving a normal tip.
Oh my gosh.
But I don't want to pay the same price, put it into a go box, 10 minutes home, get it all laid out, and make sure the dogs are put up and everything. And by the time I'm ready to open it, it's all soggy. I'm like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
Like that's the same with the delivery. I'm like, the delivery, look, everyone's got to make money, but they're burning both ends there where they're charging the restaurant, you're charging a delivery fee. My delivery driver may or may not be eating my French fries on the way, which is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
I'm I like to go, and if we're going to do a restaurant, eat it. If we're not going to sit and eat it, let's go home and cook
It'll
something.
blow my mind when I see like people picking up delivery orders at like an Outback Steakhouse, and I'm like, why do you want this at home?
Yeah.
Like by the time you get the, I'm 100% with you. I actually love the experience of eating at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to tip, I'd kind of like to be served for tipping, because I'm one of those people who I try to tip sort of regardless. I don't know. It's just a generosity thing. Like I like showing appreciation,
Sure.
but it was kind of nice to get your money's worth from that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. For tipping, I usually start like when I sit down, you're at 20%. That's like my,
that's fair.
You start at 20. I mean, I don't think I've ever tipped less than 15% of my life. So you got to really do a lot even to come off the 20 because I'll always find some excuse like, oh, they're really busy, or hey, I can tell they're trying.
The same way.
They're trying hard. Like, what? Why am I? I'm a very positive person. And then if it's above and beyond, we're creeping up 25, 30, which some people are like, oh, that's crazy. But I'm like, that's what I like to do.
The other night, we were at one of our favorite restaurants here, and it's kind of like a family, like hole in the wall restaurant. And the waitress, we brought our son Nolan. He's like 8 months old, and he's adorable and very friendly.
That's great.
And the waitress was like, "Can I like carry him around the restaurant?" And so she literally like took him for a walk and was like showing him off to different tables. And
that's awesome.
We tipped her well, but she was incredibly nice. So.
I love that. All right, are you ready for the last one here?
I don't know.
It's hot. I'm not going to tell you
the sauce. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a question, and I was
well,
like,
we got a few more questions too, but
this
is definitely going to be the hottest one we've tried of today.
Pink spoon. Wait, pink? Yeah, pink spoon. In
so this is made by another Florida company, Hotter Than L, based in Sanford, Florida. This one's called Love Burns, and I'm
a little nervous.
Yeah, this is definitely in the super hot category. Let me give it a tap here.
I'm gonna brace myself.
Yeah, this one is one of those ones that's got a lot of heat, but it has a tremendous amount of flavor. You smell the heat?
Zach, I don't know if I can do this one.
It's hot. Are you ready?
Yeah, here we go. Cheers. Yep. Oh.
Woo! Oh, yeah. It's in the name. Love burns.
Yeah, that one burns.
Woo! Ask me what it's good on.
What's it good on, Zach?
Rice, chicken, beef, wings.
Yeah. Ooh.
All right.
Oh. It tasted good. The heat just hits you like immediately.
Yeah. It's tasty though.
Okay. Actually, we're not staying in death mode. That's good.
Yeah, it's like a little, oh, this is hot. And then backs off a little bit.
Yeah, they're not playing around with that one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's good. That's a super hot.
Okay, I handled that one a little better than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that tells you anything.
Get that endorphin rush.
Yeah, there were some of those for sure. Oh man. What kind of peppers are in those bad boys?
So this one here in particular, red 7 Pop Primo, which is pretty hot. Carolina Reaper Mash.
That makes sense, yeah.
Trinidad Scorpion.
These all sound dangerous.
Yeah, they're all definitely on the upper end. But this one, and Dino can correct me in the comments here, I believe is about 60 to 70% mash. And then the rest. So the mash is basically peppers mashed with vinegar. And then the rest is different things like apple cider vinegar, lime juice, garlic, carrot. Oh, and there's ghost pepper in here too.
Okay.
So,
oh my gosh,
okay. All right. So few more questions here.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, my most anticipated question for you. So pretty easy, Google, Yelp, all that is democratized, being able to leave reviews for restaurants. You're obviously taking it a whole step further here with your grid system, and I love all of that. What are, since you're in the industry with the food truck and your friends and all these folks that own and manage these restaurants, what are some of the biggest pet peeves of restaurants towards guests? And I guess think of that in a way, if restaurants could write reviews of guests, what are some of the things that they would say that maybe a lot of reviewers wouldn't go, oh, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that at a restaurant?
So I think it comes down to like a lack of understanding in general, like a lack of empathy or being able to put yourself, in their shoes. I think, like when someone walks in on a Saturday night at 6 p.m. and there's like, I had to wait to get a table. It's one of those things where when people leave reviews, sometimes they don't leave enough context because either maybe they know the context would maybe invalidate their experience a little bit. But I think most of the time, from my experience in restaurants, it's when people don't have the self-awareness to understand that, you know, maybe there is a situation where the server's trying really hard, or maybe the restaurant's really busy and they'll like get upset about that. The other thing I would say is when people don't order correctly is, I guess, what I would say.
So what would that be? What's an example of that?
So like if someone has the other day, you know how we were talking about delivery food where it gets there and it's soggy.
Yeah.
Someone was telling us in like a DM, like, oh, they went to this restaurant that's extremely popular in Jacksonville and they thought it was just okay. And I was like, oh, well, like I asked about their experience and they're like, yeah, well, I got it delivered and they ordered like the most basic item they serve, and it was delivered, and there was like, I wasn't that blown away by it. And it's like, yeah, you're probably not going to be.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times if you go into a restaurant and you're not willing to be a little adventurous, first of all, that's your right. And if that's how you enjoy food, by all means. But if you're expecting to be blown away by something that maybe hasn't blown you away in the past, and, you know, you go in and you have maybe just some false expectations about what's going to happen when you order, like, you know, like chicken tenders or a basic cheeseburger. You think it's somehow going to be this life transforming experience,
right?
It's not.
You go to a seafood place and you're like, yeah, I'll do the
grilled cheese
cheeseburger.
sandwich. Yeah, and you're like, it was okay, and like they'll come at me. They'll be like, well, that place wasn't even that good, and it's like, what'd you get? And they'll explain it to me. I'm like, that's why. A lot of the times, I think to experience a restaurant the way the owner hopes you would, or the way the person who made the restaurant hopes you would experience it, is to lean in to what they're trying to get you to try. Whether it's just the experience of the restaurant, or whether it's the menu, or, you know, just the general vibe. A lot of people, like, if you go to a place with a tequila bar and you don't like tequila,
I don't like their scotch,
and you just order a couple of basic tacos or something like that, it's like, yeah, it was okay. That's because the whole experience is designed around nice tequilas and artisan tacos or something like that. That's just a hypothetical example. But I think a lot of times with restaurants, what'll miff owners the most is when you completely circumvent what they're trying to get you to experience.
Great. That's a great answer. So we've had some hot sauces here.
We sure have.
Is that the hottest hot sauce you think you've ever had?
It's definitely up there. I'm really thankful it's not still hitting me as hard as it was immediately.
Still feel it a little bit.
Oh, I'm still feeling it a little bit, and I think actually that's why it's pleasant.
Yeah.
It goes away.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I couldn't imagine dealing with that pain the entire day.
Oh yeah, entire day. So what's your favorite? You can either answer this, your favorite food to put hot sauce on, or your favorite kind of spicy food.
Oh, this is easy for me. Chicken wings.
Chicken wings.
I like smoking chicken wings on like a smoker, and then using hot sauce on I think just like a smoked chicken wing with hot sauce.
Your happy place.
By far, I think it's the best medium, in my opinion, for hot sauce.
That's awesome. And then what I kind of like to wrap up with is what's next for Snaxsonville into 2024 and CPA review. Anything new or exciting or directions you'd like to take your channel?
Yeah, so I think we're going to keep on putting out reviews because people enjoy those. And we have a couple projects in the works. One of them I can't really talk about. Another is that I'm actually working on a real estate license. And just stay with me. The goal is we had a couple of people approach us that help restaurants buy and sell. And so I'm going to be joining kind of forces with them.
Awesome.
And, you know, helping various restaurants sell their restaurant. Because I know for me, it was a traumatic process kind of to have to go through that. And there's so many different steps involved. And I wish I had help with that. And so that was something that I saw, especially with all the connections we had with different restaurant owners and different people in the industry. I thought that'd be a really cool direction to be able to help practically people who want to get into the industry, buy a restaurant, and people in the industry who are trying to exit. Honestly, almost the most loving thing I could do for those people is help make that process easier, because it's a very difficult process. So that's one of the things I have in the works. But I think consistently putting out content, and we're always kind of on the lookout for opportunities. But those are the big ones.
I love that, and your experience is so practical and different from so many other people people have been buying and selling food businesses forever.
Right.
But the fact that you're, I'll say boots on the ground with like going to restaurants. So someone that wants to come into the industry, like you made a perfect point about the food truck, which is a really minute detail that a lot of people I don't think would think of. But food truck, you're serving one person at a time, one person at a time. And so someone say, oh, I love the idea of have a food truck and I can go to like different places. And it's like, I hear you, but one person at a time, and then the other end of it, excuse me, you have the people that are really experienced restaurant owners. Maybe they've owned a restaurant for 30 or 40 years, but it's kind of like their restaurant is all they know. So they might have almost blinders on with, oh, this is how we do it, but you can really open them up to other things if they're looking to expand and things like that. So.
Yeah, really, really just getting into that space and being able to help owners. And a lot of it, like the CPA experience does tie into that quite a bit with, doing valuations and kind of getting into people's books and helping them figure out where they want to be. I really, I'm in this space now where I think using some of my other skills in conjunction with Snaxsonville is kind of what the future is looking like.
I love it.
So very excited about that.
Awesome. So this is the very last thing. Where is the best place for our viewers to follow you?
I would say Instagram. I think Instagram's been where we've cultivated the best crowd of people that have gotten the most out of our content. We're also on TikTok, and we got a bunch of followers there. But I would say if you want to kind of get in and see how locals interact with our content, Instagram is been, I would say, the hotbed for that.
Perfect.
But yeah, any just Instagram and TikTok are where we post our videos, so either of those are good.
Great. And I love that, even though you're local here to Jacksonville, St. Augustine, that our viewers all over the world can take your grid and apply it to their experience when they're thinking about it. And maybe they keep their own little notebook of how they felt the experience was versus just, oh yeah, I liked it here. So,
right. Yeah, different perspective for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Evan, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Stretch there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to The Hot Sauce Show. Be sure to follow us here and on socials to stay up to date on future episodes.